Welcome to the 131st Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be looking into Millie Bobby Brown and Finn Wolfhard. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Madeline and it's so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal planet signs aspects and if birth times are available, house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us weekly, and let's get right into this one. Starting off with the sun, we have Millie's sun in Pisces and Finn's sun in Capricorn. Millie gets irritated with Finn and Millie helps Finn to be open-minded. Finn brings structure to Millie's life and Finn gets frustrated with Millie. So already kind of good to going on to an interesting start, seeing that they're frustrated and irritated with each other. Millie's sun overlaid in Finn's 12th house. They are different people and there is an atmosphere of mystery. Marriage is not possible. So even, considering before, Millie got married, I assume, there would have been probably, shipping rumors between, it happens between any colleagues or any co-stars. So it was really never meant to be, it seems like. They don't understand each other and they have no idea why they are together. Millie finds Finn unpredictable and Millie sees Finn as exotic and strange. Which Millie, she is British, I believe, and Finn, he is born in Canada. So I assume, Canadian, North American, I should say. So there is that cultural difference, you could say. Millie feels Finn doesn't approve of her and the relationship requires a lot of patience. Already off to a more irritating, frustrating start. Millie is attracted to Finn against her judgment. So I assume this would have been more into the sort of beginning stages of the relationship. Probably should have checked timeline wise, but I'm pretty sure that Millie got married during the filming of Stranger Things and everything. So I assume there would have been a point in time where Millie wasn't in any sort of relationship before, this all happened, if that makes sense. Finn's sun overlaid in Millie's 4th house. There's a sense of familiarity and Millie trusts Finn deeply. I assume, hopefully, over time some trust would have been built, working together for so long. There's a strong desire to live together, so I assume maybe they had similar views in terms of how they approached filming on set and everything, and filming on location, traveling and stuff like that. I assume they would have been pretty much on the same page of that. Finn feels secure around Millie and Finn feels they belong together. So it seems potentially there was that initial I don't get you, why we here together, but hopefully it seems they eventually, warmed to each other. Finn is very protective of Millie and they are both committed to each other. Their suns are sextile to each other, so they get along and they are supportive of each other. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. That is definitely one way to put it. They help with each other's self-esteem and they are both willing to make the relationship work. I'm glad there was an initial bump in the road, but it seems like we're going on. This is a nice positive U-turn we're having. It's nice to see that they're willing to make this work. I assume they would have just been very mature about it. We're going to be working to get that we can't just, be irritated with each other all the time. They are comfortable and natural with each other. Millie's sun, Trine, Finn, Saturn. They work well together and it's a sensible relationship. Yeah, that's what it seems like it's leaning towards. Finn is loyal to Millie and Finn guides Millie with his wisdom. Challenges are dealt with perseverance and they both desire to build a lasting relationship. This is really nice. I'm glad we're seeing these sort of positive notes. It's nothing crazy positive, but it seems like they're wanting to be civil with each other, which is nice. Millie is encouraging and supportive of Finn, and Finn is attracted to Millie's will and personality. Millie is drawn to Finn's maturity, and wealth can be accumulated through marriage. I'm sure if they did, there definitely would have been wealth and everything. It would have been crazy. But, obviously, was it meant to be? Millie's sun conjunct Finn's Uranus. They meet each other suddenly. It is a work environment. Of course you're going to meet each other suddenly. They're separated at key moments, which I assume maybe this is in terms of maybe their personal lives, although they're together as colleagues, maybe outside of into the more personal lives, they technically are key moments for them, but they obviously, because they're just colleagues, they're going to be separated for those ones, if that makes sense. They need to embrace spontaneity, and it's a relationship outside of tradition. I mean, yeah, it's never really a traditional thing to put like a child into acting. It's always a bit more of a unique thing. Millie is willing to support Finn's desires, and Millie wants more stability. Okay. Finn challenges Millie to be more unconventional, and they both met when they were both looking for something different. Which, yeah, I believe this Stranger Things was the place where they really broke out. I don't believe that either of them, like both of them were still like, rising up, you could say, before Stranger Things. So like they both would have come onto this project, expecting something a bit more. And especially because from what I remember in my little timeline, Stranger Things like came onto Netflix when Netflix was still, kind of like, it had its peak, I would say, in terms of like relevancy and everything like that. So I assume like they would have gone into this project like this is going to be a really big hit. Millie triggers Finn to explore his individuality, and Millie is attracted to Finn's unconventional qualities. So it's nice that they seem to really appreciate the other's like character and everything, and they seem to like encourage that further. Finn's sun opposite Millie's Saturn. Millie has the habit of parenting Finn, and it's a relationship of duty or obligation. Finn's identity may become suppressed. I mean, if they are like colleagues, especially in like an acting setting, and they would communicate most of the times as their characters, I imagine, your identity would, I imagine, become suppressed in that sort of process. Finn is initially attracted to Millie's maturity. It's interesting how we saw with both of them that they're both drawn to the other's maturity and everything, although we're seeing this as initial, which is like, with the context of things, what you want to see. There was initial attraction, but it faded away. Finn feels blocked and discouraged by Millie, and Millie has the tendency to criticize and nag Finn, which we did see that she tends to get irritated with him, so it seems like she's quite open with when she's irritated with him. Finn's sun sextile Millie's Uranus. They start as friends and they stayed as friends, I assume. Or it could have been like a thing where they did start as friends in terms of like maybe they developed a friendship on the show, but like over time it just became, that friendship faded away, more colleague and everything. Because obviously, particularly with Millie's thing, I'm not sure if Finn is any sort of relationship, but like with Millie, once you get married, obviously the dynamics you have with other people, they're going to slightly change a bit, hopefully for the better and everything, not for the worse, but that's there. It's a relationship of freedom, and Finn is attracted to Millie's originality. They enjoy intellectual conversation, and they both encourage the other to be themselves. Frequent changes occur in the relationship, which we did see before, kind of with like how they're both separated at key moments. Finn finds Millie to be inspiring and exciting, and Finn may feel threatened by Millie's lack of limits, which we did see that Millie wants more stability. I wonder if maybe there is a matter of like discussions of how things are run on set and everything. Maybe Millie is trying to like put her like fingers into the pot too much sort of thing, and to like stir things up and a bit more than she should as an actress and everything. I wonder if that is maybe what this is all referring to, with like Finn being uncomfortable with this. Maybe he feels she's taking a bit too much liberty in like what goes on with things. Hopefully we'll see a bit more, maybe, if this is the case. They both have a strong attraction to the other, and the relationship works best when they both encourage the other's independence, which it seems like that's what they're doing. Like we keep seeing there's a lot of like they encourage each other to be themselves and notes like that. So it seems like, they are making it happen, and it seems like, all around so far anyway, it seems pretty good. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry chart readings on my Etsy store. I do both basic and detailed ones. The basic ones are a bit more simple to understand and really good for those just beginning out in astrology, getting their heads around it, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed readings are very similar to what I do here, so it's a lot of it just with my insights and interpretation on the chart. So if you're interested in that and everything else, astrology and tarot, readings and gifts, definitely check out my Etsy store for that. I'm always releasing new other things there as well. And you can even just favorite the store just to support me for free. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the reading. So now it's on to moon. We have Millie's moon in Aquarius and Finn's moon in Leo. These are sister polarity signs, also fixed signs. Finn wants to be dominant, which you could see this as him being uncomfortable by like Millie's lack of limits. Like in terms of something, like I'm imagining she's like taking more initiative than maybe Finn feels she should. And maybe Finn is the one wanting to be in control of things and how things go. That's why he's uncomfortable with Millie. Millie resists Finn's desire for authority, and Finn doesn't like Millie treating him like everyone else. Oh, so he wants to be a bit special. Millie's moon overlaid in Finn's 12th house. There's a lack of trust, and Millie feels that Finn is hiding something. Finn senses Millie's suspicions, and there is no logical base for lack of trust and paranoia, which everything considering so far, I don't think so. We haven't really seen anything like too old they need to be super suspicious of each other or anything like that. It's difficult for them to deal with wounded feelings. Finn's moon overlaid in Millie's 12th house, so this is a repeated overlay, just inverted, so everything from just before is further emphasized, but also Finn feels that Millie is hiding something, and Millie senses Finn's suspicions. Their moon signs are opposite to each other, so there's contrasting emotional needs, and they're strongly attracted to each other, which we did see, have been seeing a couple times there is an attraction. I mean, they're both young people in Hollywood, duh. But we also have seen like a bit of like deteriorating factors of that, so it seems like there was an initial attraction thing, but that soon faded away. Excellent communication is needed, and it's difficult to be in sync. Certain habits will be unbearable for the other. I'm assuming like because we did see they have a strong desire to live together, I feel like that would be more of a sense that like both of them are on the same page with like, you know, potentially like traveling to film or like going to a location to film and all of that, rather than like they're happy to like, I don't know, share like a hotel room because they have to in like a touring sense, because we already have seen they get like pretty irritated, frustrated with each other. So it makes sense that, you know, habits are just going to be unbearable and everything. Millie's moon is square Finn's Venus. Previous relationships negatively impact this relationship. I mean, considering they are child stars, you know, this could go in a lot of areas. You know, it could be in terms of like, you know, the sets that they were on previously, maybe they've had bad experiences, even with their families or like previous, I don't know, directors, people in the industry. It's there. It could be anyone really. There's a strong attraction, and Finn may struggle with his self-worth. Oh, because we saw before they both help with each other's self-esteem. Maybe this is just like a little one-off bit. Just maybe it is just an internal thing for him. Millie may not be able to provide Finn with the emotional nourishment he wants, not surprisingly so, especially now with Millie's, you know, marriage and everything. I assume like that whole sort of dynamic may have changed a bit. They both need to resolve their internal issues for this to work, and they both tend to take each other for granted. Their values are in conflict, and living beyond means will create strains. I wonder if maybe there was a budget thing that Millie was trying to like play with, because that's the only area where like strains seem to really occur. Like Finn seems to want to be dominant, but also like threatened by Millie's lack of limits. So I wonder if maybe it's like a matter of, I don't know, she wants to like bring in some idea, but that's going to cost a lot of money. But Finn wants to have a say in that and have his assertion over that. But Millie, you know, it's like an expensive idea. Like, is that making any sense? That's where my brain is going. Like, it seems like maybe Millie is wanting to play around with the budget and everything. They both need to learn to compromise, and they both like each other but not the habits. That generally seems to be the case, because like we did see a lot of they allow the other to be themselves and everything. I'm sure it's just like a respect thing over anything else. They both may feel misunderstood, and they both will learn how to cooperate. Millie sees Finn as narcissistic, which, going back to the whole thing how he wants to be dominant and like the special one and everything. Finn sees Millie as needy, so I assume this is like maybe he thinks whatever her asks for are a bit, you know, out of pocket, maybe literally out of pocket financially. Finn doesn't always understand Millie's emotions, which, I mean, we saw the whole contrasting emotional needs. Also, Millie can't really provide for Finn emotionally, so it's kind of nice that's reciprocated. Millie's moon opposite Finn's Jupiter. The emotions can get out of control and there are unkept promises. They're attracted to each other because the other has what they need and their beliefs are conflicted, which I think we're seeing again, like beliefs like values are in conflict again, so that's there. Millie may smother Finn, which is going back to how we just saw that Finn sees her as a bit too needy, so that's, repeating itself. They both think the other is a bad influence. Millie's moon at Trine Finn's Saturn. Building on past traditions is important, which is interesting because we have been seeing a whole lot of they encourage the other to be more unconventional and everything. So I'm not sure where this past traditions thing would come from, unless it is a matter of filming. My brain's going to because they're filming, a Netflix TV series together, which is very different to how traditional media was filmed. I assume there would have been differences, but obviously same principles would apply in terms of filming the TV show and everything and how everything flows and stuff like that. So I assume maybe in that way, they are entering a new realm together, but they both have to consider the past traditions. It's a stable relationship and there's a potential for accumulating wealth, we're seeing again, which I guess you could see. We did see how wealth can be accumulated through marriage. In a sense, because these two would have obviously had signed contracts. In a sense, these two signing the contract, because marriage is a contract. Obviously, this one is a bit different. But them signing a contract together and all of that to work together, that did accumulate a lot of wealth for them. Millie sees Finn as mature and Finn is accountable with Millie. Finn's desire for commitment is appealing to Millie, and which I assume this would be in terms of maybe desire to commit to the show and everything. Finn finds it difficult to be emotionally caring, which we're seeing again, and they can achieve mutual long-term goals together, which they have. Millie's moon conjunct Finn's Uranus. There's an instant attraction and unpredictability makes long-term difficult, which we did see that. I believe we saw sudden changes occur frequently or unpredictability before, but also how separation occurs as well. So there is a bit of that unpredictableness here, which I assume is why, long-term and everything is a bit harder. Finn is dominant, we're seeing again, and it's an exciting meeting. Friends play a part in the meeting. I assume in terms of their own connections that got them to the movie and set and everything. They share an unusual lifestyle. That is one way to put it. Millie creates an accepting atmosphere for Finn, and Millie sees Finn as unreliable. This is going back to how she has the habit of parenting Finn and has the tendency to criticize and nag Finn, because this is, to me, these two combined together, very motherly, I would say, creating that accepting atmosphere, but also kind of seeing, your child is a bit unreliable in a sense. Finn brings out excitement to Millie. Finn's moon are opposite Millie's Mercury. There's insightful conversations, which we did see intellectual conversations happen, not surprisingly so considering they work together all the time. They confide in each other and they both feel different in this relationship. Potentially, they could have had a very different dynamic compared to other cast members. Finn questions a lot of what Millie says, and Finn's feelings are incompatible with Millie's ideas. There is a thing with I really see there is some issue with Millie having some idea, and potentially it seems like there is a financial issue with it, and Finn is just not on board with it. He doesn't feel right with it. He wants to assert himself. I'm curious if anything was public in terms of these two filming with each other, or potentially Millie having an idea that maybe the others didn't like and Finn was just included with that. Finn's moon at Trine Millie's Venus. There's mutual appreciation and it's easy to compromise in certain areas maybe. There is natural affection and they are supportive of each other during conflict. They appreciate art together and they're a social couple. Finn's moon is square Millie's Mars. It's a stormy relationship and it's an emotional roller coaster. I mean, I would say it's more of a roller coaster than stormy in terms of the unpredictability. Emotionally, they both seem to be pretty detached. There's not a whole lot of emotional depth here we're seeing so far. They both will need to work out issues as they come and difficult relationship emotionally if there are children. I wonder, I'm not sure if they're filming the show anymore actually, but like I assume this would be in terms of like if they are colleagues and one of them has children, maybe that would like change the dynamic, because they could definitely be that co-worker that is, you know, critical of that decision, and in whatever way that may be, that could very easily manifest. So this could be, you know, if one of them decides to have children, that will become emotionally difficult if they're working together. Does that make sense? My brain is going back to the video we saw with Jillian and David. I need to remember their surnames. I remember Jillian and David though we covered, where there was, I'm pretty sure there was the thing with like, it was Jillian having children that seemed to make the whole relationship a bit rocky. So my brain is going back to that dynamic. Millie doesn't have the patience to connect with Finn's feelings, we're seeing again. They're very reactive to each other, and there's a possibility for codependency. I think just career-wise, you know, like we need to work together, otherwise, you know, we're not going to be as successful maybe. Millie's independence makes Finn feel insecure. We're seeing again, there is something of like Millie being independent, making decisions, that seems to be making Finn not feel great at all. Like it's making him anxious. It's hard to relax together, and resentment can grow. I feel like the only way we've seen resentment potentially growing is with Millie's, I don't know, independent decision, what she's trying to push something. There's something going on with Millie she's trying to push that seems like Finn doesn't like. Finn's moon opposite Millie's Neptune. They negatively influence each other, which I think we did see how they both feel the other is a bad influence on the other, so that's kind of repeated. They misunderstand each other's signals, and Millie doesn't fit with Finn's vision of her. Interesting. Maybe it was an issue with maybe how she wanted to play her character, maybe? Finn makes Millie feel safe, and Finn clings to Millie. They both feel guilt when they are separated. That is interesting. I mean, we did see how Millie appreciates Finn's desire for commitment. I wonder if this isn't like separation in terms of like maybe some, you know, they need to take time out for like other projects that they have and everything. I wonder if in that sense they feel guilt. It's difficult to define boundaries. I'm sure, like, I feel like being colleagues, like, especially if this is a colleague dynamic or like particularly with actors where they are kind of living together, it is a very weird place to define dynamics, isn't it? Dynamics, define boundaries. They may lose themselves in each other. I assume, again, this is more like the project rather than each other. Finn's moon at Trine Millie's Pluto. There's an intense meeting, and they both will need to let go of fake personas. Interesting, because they're kind of in their fake personas most of the time they're communicating, I imagine. They both bring truth and change in social and political areas together, and they have a strong bond. They're involved in organizations together, and they can solve problems in their community, which isn't really surprisingly so. Like, they are both like, you know, young, the sort of like new young generation of like influential actors. They can go through difficulties together, and they can both transform each other. So now it's time for Mercury. We have Millie's Mercury in Aquarius and Finn's Mercury in Capricorn. Finn gets impatient with Millie, and Finn teaches Millie to be more practical, which this is going right back to the beginning, but I'm pretty sure we saw that Finn brings structure to Millie's life, so I assume this would be related. Millie teaches Finn to be open-minded, and they fundamentally communicate the same way. Millie's Mercury overlaid in Finn's 11th house. Millie is open and communicative with Finn, and Finn finds Millie pleasant. Finn looks forward to spending time with Millie, and they both are tolerant and patient with each other, which that seems to be a theme here, like tolerance and patience. I would say more tolerance, because we are seeing a lot of like they allow the other to be themselves and everything, so that's there. Millie's Mercury overlaid in Finn's 5th house. Finn is like the sun to Millie, and Finn makes Millie's day. It's nice that they enjoy spending time together, like they're happy to see each other, makes work better. They both encourage the other, and there's easy communication, and it's not a boring relationship, not surprisingly. So they're both, you know, living their best lives, I imagine, with this lifestyle they have. Millie's Mercury square Finn's Venus. They find each other interesting and attractive, and there's frequent disagreements. I mean, as I'm repeating myself, there is some weird disagreement that they have going on with something Millie wants to do. I wonder if it is maybe like a character thing, because We did see that Millie doesn't fit with Finn's vision of her. Maybe Finn had ideas for her character or something like that, or maybe on the plot of it, and Millie overturned it and it cost more money. Something like that. Mundane communication is difficult and there's a difference in music taste. Exchanging ideas is a source of conflict and they need to learn to listen to each other. Millie's Mercury square Finn's Mars. They challenge each other and differences cause irritation. We're seeing, again, not really surprisingly so. Debates quickly turn into arguments and living together is difficult, which we're seeing again. Like, there definitely seems to be an element of like living together here, leaning towards that it's more difficult than not. Finn has a habit of interrupting Millie and Millie is too critical of Finn, which we did kind of see with, like, we did literally see she's more critical and nagging of Finn, but also with, like, Finn interrupting Millie. Again, it seems like this sort of, like, dominance he wants to have. Finn tries to force his opinion on Millie. Millie's Mercury opposite Finn's Jupiter. They have different philosophical views, which I think we're seeing again, there's like a contrasting values and beliefs that's being repeated. They frequently interrupt each other, which we did just see with Finn. Millie sees Finn as too flippant and there's a mutual lack of understanding. Finn sees Millie as too rational. Finn's Mercury, Trine, Millie, Saturn. They work well together and they think in similar and strategic ways. I'm sure in some ways they do, but it seems like in terms of like life views and all of that, life core values, that seems to be where they think a bit differently. In terms of whatever Millie's decision is, there's something with Millie that she's wanting to do that Finn seems to be very against. That doesn't seem to be where they think similar, but like we did see, like they both encourage each other to be quite open and everything, so I assume in that way they think similarly. Millie appreciates Finn's mature thinking and sense of purpose. Again, we're seeing on both ends how they seem to like each other's maturity. Finn helps Millie bring structure to her life, we're seeing again, and Millie feels she can learn a lot from Finn. They solve problems together carefully and logically, and they have serious conversations, which I feel like this is going back to how we saw that they can go through difficulties together and everything. It's a long-term karmic relationship. I mean, I feel like karmic could be a bit debated. It doesn't seem like too crazy or anything. It's a relationship of spiritual evolution and they're a team in a business, yes, and they have effective communication. Millie's Mercury conjunct Finn's Uranus. Finn challenges Millie's way of thinking, I mean, not surprisingly so. I feel like this is going back to how he tries to force his opinion on Millie. Maybe that's how he's trying to do it, just like, you know, encourage her to think a bit differently. They're impulsive together and they both enjoy experimenting. They grow intellectually together and they come up with original ideas together. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they did. I just feel like there are key things that they just seem to butt heads on. Discover new ways of seeing the world together. I mean, they definitely lived a very unique life together. And it really is something that only that the other can really understand. Obviously, the other, I believe there was like a few of them that were like in the same position of like, you know, young people on Stranger Things and all of that. But yeah, these two would definitely share a very unique life experience together. Millie truly understands Finn's originality and they share an interest in unusual topics. They casually talk about taboos and they're creative together and they find uncommon solutions to problems. Millie's Mercury sextile Finn's Pluto. They're interested in unique subjects together, which we did just see they share like an interest in taboo subjects, or they casually talk about taboos, so that's there. It's a therapist-patient relationship. I think only in terms of like that they do share very unique life perspective, they could really confide in each other for that. They get to the bottom of things quickly and they share a lot together. Millie is fascinated by Finn's depth and Millie uplifts Finn. They tell each other their deepest secrets and they both heal from past relationships together, which we're seeing again. We did see like that, I think it was like past like relationships can negatively impact this relationship or something like that. So that really is a theme here, which it's nice, like if they do heal from it, that's lovely. Finn opens up Millie to new ways of thinking. Again, yeah, it seems like he's really trying to push her to like think a bit differently, which isn't always a bad thing. I think just considering the context, it seems like he's very against Millie's, like whatever this idea was, even ideas, he doesn't seem to like it. So it's a bit unique or interesting combination for him to be a bit pushy with new ways of thinking. Finn appreciates Millie's humor and they resolve deeper matters together. Finn's Mercury trine Millie's Jupiter. Millie is enthusiastic about Finn's thoughts and ideas, which it's good to see that she's a bit okay with it. I think, but she should have her own thoughts and ideas as well, not just like how Finn wants to see things, They have positive and inspiring conversations and there's a strong friendship. Millie introduces Finn to new ways of thinking and Millie can be too lenient with Finn. There's an optimistic meeting and Finn helps Millie with self-expression, which the whole self-expression thing we're seeing again, but like potentially maybe Finn helps a bit more with Millie's self-expression. But then again, I feel like we've seen it so much, I've kind of lost track of if there is like a stronger side with it, if that makes sense. Business together is advantageous, we're seeing again. They enjoy traveling together, so I assume like they're happy for like to travel for their work and everything. They share that opinion, which we're seeing again. And they come from different cultures. Yeah, I guess like Millie being British, I'm pretty sure she is. But also like, Finn being like Canadian or like, American, North American. Because, sometimes, who knows if you like move to like Hollywood at a really young age and like, I lost his Canadianness. Is that the right way to put it? Like, I'm just going to say North American culture. So now it's time for Venus. We have Millie's Venus in Aries and Finn's Venus in Scorpio. These are both ruled by Mars in traditional astrology. They're an unusual couple and it's difficult to have a harmonious relationship. Yeah, I mean, considering their life circumstances and everything and like what they experience together, I feel like it would be very weird for them to actually have this like long-term harmonious relationship and everything. It's emotionally difficult. I think it's just not emotionally there. Like we've just seen on both ends, like they're just not like open to being emotionally available for the other one. It is short term. Yeah, I see that. Like it seems to be a bit more like shorter term basis, like colleagues, actors on set. Like I wouldn't be shocked if these two were people that kept like returning to work together, but definitely in short term stints. It's a passionate relationship and Finn wants commitment and consistency from Millie, which it seems like they both want from each other, which is nice that they both seem to provide that. Millie's Venus overlaid in Finn's first house. Millie is attracted to Finn and Millie enjoys being seen with Finn. I mean, not surprisingly, so it helps her career, being them together and all of that. Finn is flattered by Millie and Finn over time may not appreciate the shallow admiration. Interesting, which like, I don't blame her for having shallow admiration, like she's not super emotionally invested here or anything like that. I don't blame her. Millie doesn't pay attention to the regular Finn. I assume this is, she's just seeing him as like a pure colleague and everything. She's not particularly interested in like getting to know him super deeper. Like I know we saw the therapist-patient thing. I think that still is on the more superficial, hey, we went through this crazy thing together and like they just have that in common, Finn's Venus overlaid in Millie's third house. Finn feels more comfortable around Millie and they are good friends. Finn sees Millie as easily approachable and they trust each other. Finn makes Millie happy and there's easy and natural communication. Millie's Venus trine Finn's Jupiter. Finn appreciates Millie as a friend. Yeah, that's pretty good, I would say. They see the good in each other and they make each other feel more confident, which we did see. I feel like going more back to the beginning, like boosting each other's self-esteem. It's financially abundant, which we have seen sprinkles of, not surprisingly so. They share inside jokes and they thrive in each other's company. They're a popular couple and Millie improves Finn's social life. Millie's Venus sextile Finn's Neptune. Millie is enchanted by Finn and they prefer to see each other as a fantasy. Like, I don't blame them though. Like, I know we saw like they both need to let go of their fake personas for this to work. Like, I don't feel like they really need to. It seems like they have a fine thing going on as colleagues. Like, they don't seem to have this like, we are seeing like attraction things, but we're also seeing it seems to deteriorate. Like, I don't think this is a problem, They're tolerant of each other and they share spiritual interests, which I think we did see once before. Millie may expect too much from Finn and Finn is easily charmed by Millie. Millie's Venus trine Finn's Pluto. It's emotionally fulfilling. I feel like the lack of emotions makes this fulfilling. I think this has come up before, like where the lack of emotion seems to really work for those two, because we haven't seen like they're both wanting emotional connection from the other. It's not like this unrequited, attention or anything like that, so that's there. It's not likely to grow stale, and they both enjoy growing from this relationship. Millie considers Finn irresistible, and Millie sees Finn as a soulmate. I wonder if maybe she sees him, because there are those like acting couples, I guess you could say, where like, there's normally, it does seem to be like a pattern in Hollywood. Like there's always some kind of like male-female like couple, so to speak, but they're like acting couples, they're always in like films together and everything. And like, although they're not actually together, like they're, always working to get together. So I wonder if maybe she sees him as a sort of like acting soulmate, colleague soulmate. Finn's Venus opposite Millie's Mars. Finn may become manipulative to try get Millie to prove her feelings. Like, I kind of want to skew this a bit because, like, from what we have seen, I wouldn't be shocked if Finn would be manipulative, but in terms of, like, views and everything, like, he seems to want to encourage Millie to think a certain way. So in that way, I could totally see him as being manipulative of Millie. Their desire for each other will always be there, and Finn feels he gives more than he gets. Finn sees Millie as harsh. I wonder if this is, again, whatever Millie wants to do, there seems to be something she wants to do that Finn doesn't agree. I wonder if it's related to that. Millie sees Finn as lacking substance, interesting, and Millie may come onto Finn too strong. I wonder if there was we have seen, there seems to be an initial attraction and everything, but it seems like they got to know each other, it just didn't work. Like they just were not interested in each other. It was like a quick little spark. Finn's Venus sextile Millie's Jupiter. It's materially successful, we're seeing again, and Millie finds Finn interesting. They trust each other, and there's an ability to get over issues we're also seeing again, which is nice. They see the good in each other, and it's a relationship of growth. They're a socially popular couple, and they thrive in each other's company. Finn's Venus square Millie's Neptune. Finn needs to make sure he falls for the real Millie, not his illusion, which we're seeing again weirdly enough, aren't we, with like Millie or like Finn having this vision of Millie. There's extremes of trusting, and Millie needs to be careful to keep promises and not make huge ones. Millie has a hard time dealing with Finn because he doesn't want to see reality. Interesting. So now it's time for Mars. We have Millie's Mars in Taurus and Finn's Mars in Scorpio. These are sister polarity signs, also fixed signs. They both have a strong willpower. It definitely seems that way. Like in their own way, like Finn is wanting to be dominant, but Millie seems to be pushing something of her own as well. Finn is dominant. They're possessive of each other. I wonder again if it is that sort of like acting soulmate sort of thing going on with these two, which is like hard to say because they're only like really at the beginning of their careers, hopefully or not. But yeah, like there's definitely potential for them to like return to projects together. So maybe, that acting soulmate thing is what they have. It's a stable and secure relationship. Millie's Mars overlaid in Finn's second house. Millie triggers Finn's possessiveness, and Millie is patient with Finn. Finn is more materialistic in this relationship, which I guess would be in terms of like the finances, because I think there was something with Finn not really wanting. I think what I interpreted was like Finn doesn't seem to be happy with like the decisions Millie wants to make. There's tension there, and financial issues and tension were like similar. So I wonder if that is related to all this, like Finn truly sees like a financial issue to whatever Millie wants. And in that way could be interpreted as being more materialistic here. Millie is sentimental with Finn, which you could see this as, the whole, I want to say nostalgia, but like, the fact that they shared a very similar experience together, and that maybe for Millie, that is quite sentimental with Finn, that they both had this unique experience together as like kids essentially. Millie treats Finn as an object. That's a big yikes. That's not very nice. Finn tends to be more masculine in this relationship. Finn's Mars overlaid in Millie's third house. Finn is more blunt around Millie, and Millie may intimidate Finn. Millie is sensitive to Finn's intensity, so I assume yet again she doesn't seem to really appreciate his dominance and everything. Their Mars signs are opposite to each other, so they enjoy each other's company. I think we're seeing again, it's competitive, and there's a lack of understanding of the other's anger. Like the way I want to interpret it is, I guess like there's a lack of understanding regarding why the other has issues with certain things and like their motives for things, because it seems like they really headlock on certain things and there isn't a whole lot of like trying to understand those specific things. It seems like, yes, generally they're able to get through conflicts together. I hope they do. But like with whatever Millie wants to do, it seems like they're both just headlocking. They're not really trying to understand the other with it, if that makes sense. Millie's Mars square Finn's Neptune. Circumstances in meeting were never understood by one of the partners. I think this would be in terms, because we did see mutual friends bring them together or something like that. I wonder if like it was like, oh my god, I'm so lucky I'm receiving this like role and everything, or like potentially in another context as well. You know, we did see, it does seem like they suddenly met each other and like this whole thing as well. They need honesty to make this work. Finn's Mars sextile Millie's Jupiter. Millie encourages Finn to assert his independence. Oh, that's interesting. It's a bit of a spanner in the works. Finn feels more energized by Millie and it's competitive. I believe we're seeing again. They encourage each other to engage in controversial behavior and they have a lot of fun together and they like to try new things together, which we did see how I think they come up with original ideas together and they like experimenting together. So that's kind of repeated. Finn's Mars square Millie's Neptune. So this is an inverted aspect, repeated. But everything from before is further emphasized, but there's no inversion notes, so that is the last aspect of that one. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I'd be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one, particularly if you're fans of these two. I feel like we went through a lot today. This is the longest video I filmed in a really long time, I would say. So definitely, if you are still watching, definitely, yeah, comment below, share your thoughts. If you've managed to stay here for the entire ride, and if you have made it this far in this long video, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings weekly. And besides that, give this video a like and I will see you guys next time. Bye! And a shout out to my astrology enthusiast, Monkey Girl. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you would also like a shout out and get early access to new videos, click the join button below to join the membership. There are 2 tiers, the observers and the enthusiasts. All that will be in the information in that button. And thank you again, Monkey Girl, for supporting the channel.